Hey, this is the Armadillo, and I'm just going to do a follow-up on my very excellent PK380 pistol. We're not going to be doing any technical stuff. I'm not going to be taking it apart or talking about it in that regard, but I'd like to give a little bit of follow-up on my experience with actually using the weapon. I've done probably, say, 150 to 200 rounds since then, and this gun has shot flawlessly. It's been absolutely excellent, and I'm not the world's greatest shooter, but I try to shoot well, because if I ever had to use the weapon, I certainly wouldn't want to hurt someone that shouldn't be hurt. So I try to practice with some regularity, and I've got a number of pistols, 9 mils. I've got a 226 SIG and SR9C, both excellent 9mm pistols, and another 380 besides this. And this is unlike 380s. Most 380s, this is not a blowback weapon. It's about the same size as the Walther P22, which is also, I found, to be a very dependable weapon. But this weapon right here has less recoil than any 32 and any 380, any other 380 I've shot, and of course much less recoil than the 9 mil. So you can shoot it very, very regularly without much disturbance. It's very solid and stable, and you can get a lot of good rounds off with a good deal of accuracy, because there's not so much displacement of the muzzle. And anyway, I went shooting today. As I said, the gun shoots flawlessly, as long as you have decent ammo in it. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And first thing I'll show you is one round of shooting with it. There's the the pink plate. I like to shoot plates because I try to keep all the rounds inside the plate, and I'm not sure how many feet that is. It's probably 21 to 25 feet or something like that. And as you can see, it's out there, and there's my first 10 rounds. That's what those look like. That little wild one up there, that was actually the first round that I shot, and then the rest of them are quite a bit closer. And then there's the second plate. One comment I wanted to make about some criticism that I've heard of the PK380, and believe me, Walther doesn't pay me anything for defending the PK380, there was some complaint by someone in one of the videos that when you're shooting it in double action, that the travel goes back so far and then you hit a stiff patch, and they didn't like that. They wanted a smooth move all the way down. But what I found, or what I discovered with that, and maybe Walther would correct me if I'm completely wrong about this, but there is a certain pull of the trigger back to a certain point, and then when you hit that stiff patch, you're essentially hitting the single action area, and the single action area is not a quick, easy trigger pull. It's a more of a resistant trigger pull, which I've come to kind of like with this weapon. Once you get used to it, you can really squeeze it off, and you don't have to worry about the round firing before you're ready. So I've really come to like that feature. And if I'm shooting in double action, and I pull the gun out, and I'm doing the trigger pull, I'm not doing a long trigger pull, waiting when that hammer is going to drop, thinking maybe it's going to drop now, maybe now, maybe now. With some pistols, like for instance the SIG 250. SIG 250 just drove me crazy, because I thought, when is this trigger pull ever going to end? So it's very hard to actually prepare the weapon for firing when you just don't know when the trigger is going to drop. But here, you pull the trigger, and as soon as you hit that stiff part, you know that you're in single action, and you're going to be shooting essentially about single action when you get to that point. So I like that. I like that. You know, you've got about that much trigger pull left. So I think that's a positive feature. I see that as a positive feature, not a negative feature. Some people like a soft trigger, an easy trigger. I've got a CZ380 32 that has a very soft, very easy trigger. The problem is it's a hair trigger, and if you just touch it before you're ready, the thing will go off in your hands. And I really, as opposed to a hard trigger and a soft trigger, I really prefer a trigger that I can control, because that really gives me a lot more control over the ultimate results of the shot. So anyway, that's one of the virtues of the trigger pull, and I hope some of you that have had trouble with that spring in cleaning the weapon have looked at that video, those two videos I made on the 380 before, and that you find that useful in making it easy. Because I know if you think you have to wrestle with that spring for 40 minutes every time you disassemble the weapon to clean it, it's going to discourage you in cleaning it. And that shouldn't be the case, because it's really a fairly easy job to get that trigger, to get that spring back on the follower and get the weapon assembled. And it assembles very easily and very well once you figure that out. So anyway, I find this gun has shot flawlessly, no failures to fire, no jams. It's the best 380 that I've shot so far. I think it outshoots all the blowback 380s. It definitely has less recoil. Another nice thing about is that you're high up on the grip, so the gun is very stable, and yet there's so little recoil that you're not taking the kind of punishment that you would take when you have to do the stiff-wristed thing with the blowback 380s. So I shoot this a lot more accurately, and I wanted to show a photograph of the sight so you can see what good, generous sights that they have. And basically that pattern you saw on the plastic plate, that pattern you saw, that was all shot with basically spotting that the sight there on the end of the barrel, and just shooting just from that, concentrating only on that, and it's very easily visible. These are some of the best, most visible sights in any gun, and as I said before in the previous video, it's one of the best guns to fit your hand. That's just feels amazingly natural, like a real natural pointer. It's easy to rack, it's easy to load. It's a wonderful weapon for women, but I'd say if you want accurate placement in a shot, in a weapon, I'd rather have 2 or 3 accurately placed rounds with this than 4 or 5 wildly placed rounds with something that's more powerful, but which I can't control. Oral Hershiser, the pitcher, he said that of all the things that there were that a pitcher had in terms of pitch selection, pitch type, speed, and location, by far the most important thing is the pitcher's control. In other words, success is all about location, location, location. And I think that's the same thing a lot when you're looking for a weapon to defend yourself. If you can control it and you can get the locations, you really get confident with your aiming, and you get confident in a weapon being dependable and controllable, you're going to be in a lot better shape. This is one of the best values that I've seen on the market among the compact weapons and the small carry weapons. Just a super job. I can't thank Walther enough for making such a terrific weapon as this. And I hope before you decide on a carry weapon, something you can protect yourself with, hope you look into this, because I think it's well worthwhile. I've been shooting, by the way, one of the problems with the 380 is sometimes the expense of the ammo. It can get pretty expensive. So for target shooting, I've been using some Full Metal Jacket from Good To Go Ammo up there in Dallas. They do their own loading, and the Full Metal Jacket 380 has shot perfectly in this pistol. They do a real good job. They're real good folks. I'm going to put their address up at the end of this in case anybody wants to contact them. They have real good prices on 380, and for me and this PK 380, the ammo has been super. I'm in business for myself, not in with guns or anything, but I'm in business for myself, and I always like to find people who are small business people who are doing a good job serving people, and people you can actually talk to instead of some big faceless company. And I like to recommend them. Check them out on the internet. It's Good to Go Ammo up in Plano, Texas. I think you'll like dealing with those folks. See you later.